Welcome once again to your Church of Heavy Metal, that is Thunderdale Metal Reviews. I am Ben. With me, as always, are Gabe, David, and Tracy. And we are here on the first part of our journey into new albums released in March. And if those of you watching or looking at your little phone screens, you can see that I have chosen Crowbar's Zero and Below, because the prophecy must be fulfilled. How's everyone doing tonight?
Ready to prophesy with you in a very New Orleans sort of way.
Doing okay.
Freezing because it's 0 and below.
Yeah, it was actually a balmy 48 degrees today, so I was pretty happy about that. But yeah, 0 and Below released on the 4th day of March 2020. It is Crowbar's 12th studio album. It is on Monarch Heavy label. Dwayne Samino was the producer. It has a runtime of 42 minutes and 43 seconds. The band is Kirk Winstein on vocals and guitars, Matthew Brunson on guitars, Shane Wesley on bass, and Tommy Buckley on drums.
This is our second Crowbar album for the pod, right? Because we did Time Heals Nothing back in the wee early days.
Yes.
Okay. So this is my third or fourth full-on Crowbar album that I listened to. Add +1 if you want to include Kirk Winstein's solo album from a couple years ago. I don't think there's a very far deviation between what you got in the solo album to what Crowbar would essentially put out.
I think the tempo's a little faster, but yes, I mean it would be hard to tell just at first listen, especially if it were just like a track from each, which was which. But
yeah,
I would argue the tempo on this was a little brisker, if still nearly at Ben approved sludge spades.
Yeah, and this is a little bit faster. I think Time Heals Nothing as well. Time Heals Nothing is a little bit more slower speed to it.
Yeah, Time Heals Nothing has a little bit more. It is definitely sludge, but it also has a little bit more of a hardcore feel to it than this does. This is definitely much, while still being sludge and sludge speed, you can tell that he has spent probably the last 20-something years playing with, in Down or other Southern rock influenced outfits.
He probably also saw what I wrote in the spreadsheet. So,
could have been, yeah.
I need you to pick the tempo up just a bit, man. So I appreciate that they did.
So everybody else is coming into this with a lot more experience in this band than I have, but whatever I hear after this album is going to be a really hard bar to beat, because this is amazing. It's a really solid record. The tracks are just super high quality for the most part, and just heavy as fuck. And I guess I'm also technically a newcomer to sludge, but I have the doom and the hardcore punk running through my veins. So this is probably something I'm going to enjoy, just from the get-go.
Yeah, I was really...
Go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I was quite impressed by the quality from track to track as well. Some of the earlier stuff, which while I did like, I don't know what point in history it was, and there have always been albums that have had banger tracks, track to track. We've talked about some of them with some of the Black Sabbath and some of the early Maiden that we've done, but there was definitely a time when if you had 2 or 3 good songs on an album, that was considered a really good album. And this is, to Gabe's point, I think fairly consistently stacked with quality songs.
I think the production is quite good. Especially since I hadn't listened to, I sort of jumped in and out of Crowbar. I had that 1993 album, which was self-titled, but was their second album, and I think one other one. And then I listened to the Winstein, and after I woke up, when it was done, because I was a little worried. I was like, is this going to be like that? But no, this album was badass. I mean, I agree with you. They brought a little bit more of the Southern rock that's always present with Crowbar, but I think this sounded a bit more like Down than what I was expecting or used to, and I mean that in a good way. And I liked it more than I know you adored the Winstein album. I'm not ragging on it. You know who I am as a person. When you have Slayer running through your veins, it's a little, which I do also, but you also have 2 hearts, Ben. So there's two circulatory system type
like
situation.
A Klingon that way. One does pump through the oil, and the other to pump through the thrash. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, I kind of missed the slower tempo stuff comparatively. I'll come into switching to more and more doomier, a little slower. And I was like, okay, so like this album not bad. Like I don't think it's gonna earn as high marks for me as it had will perceivably be in Gabe, maybe David.
You can just play it slower. Just get the technology.
I just need to
slow
I need
it
to get a record
down.
player and buy it at a 60
It's called a
RPM.
slower downer.
I buy a
slower
60
downer.
RPM record and set it for 45 RPM.
That's it. There it is. Just do that.
Well,
or-
listen, you need to set it at 33 and a half. I add parenthetically that I have been listening to a lot of songs slowed down lately, and I find that very, very enjoyable. But anyway, that's because of who I am as a person. No, I
If you
really.
can't get the Doom and Sludge there. If they don't give it to you, you just manufacture it yourself.
Hey, I'm just saying that if you've never listened to Take Me Home Country Roads at 33 and a half RPMs, you don't know what you're missing, which is something that sounds not the best, but I love anyway.
That may be the most Ben thing I've ever heard in my life, but what you just said.
Yeah, probably so. I love, to your point about the production, David, I thought this was very well produced. I don't remember the lineup on Crowbar's last album, but this is not the canonical lineup. They're having some changes. There's a different bass player. I do at least know that. And I think there's a different drummer as well. Tracy can fact check me on that because that's what he likes to do. But I love the sound of the guitars on this. I love the way that everything was mixed and balanced. I really like that Kirk, in like on his solo album and this album, has kind of gone away a little bit from the hardcore bark that he had on stuff like All I Had I Gave, some of the earlier albums, and is kind of doing like man, this would fit on a stoner album because I mean the vocals, because he's really doing like the wizened wizard in a cave thing, somewhat nasally but still kind of gruff, and it wouldn't work for everything, but I like it on this for sure.
I'll get your fact check if you want it.
Shoot.
So they have a new bassist on your Shane Wesley. That's the only person that's changed since 2011.
Okay.
Or the bassist seems to be a new one every album. I don't.
Yeah, since Todd Strange left the band. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the rest are pretty solid. 2009, 2010. It looks like.
Yeah. I mean, you know, these guys have been doing this for a long, long time. So it's not surprised that this is a well produced and proficiently written and recorded.
Yeah, I mean, well, I've never had nothing to really like. Nothing really kind of latched on to me. A couple songs they stuck out, but I mean, overall, this album was really well done. Just as a general good album.
Yeah, I guess we don't have anything else to say. I will transition into songs. And I kind of like them all, to be honest.
Yep.
I really do. I will give a shout out and then I'll get out of the way, since I did say I kind of like them all. But there are two that I want to point out. Denial of Truth, for being like what would essentially be, I guess, a ballad for this style on this album. Coming in at number 5 and really kind of slowing the tempo down, to Tracy's point, because that is one of the slower tracks on this album, and it kind of spreads out in like a 70s arena rock kind of way, which I really enjoyed. And then after 9 other tracks of essentially crushing negativity, they come up with a 0 and below, the last track, and it's like, do not kill yourself, please. Which I appreciated. But so yeah, kind of like them all.
I think almost all these tracks are great. Denial of Truth, I wanted it to be faster, but I understand it was a palate cleanser. I'm trying to hit every box for you, Tracy. I literally liked Bleeding from Every Hole. It was a little faster, and it's just an intense song. There's also a video for it I've been afraid to watch that I figure we might watch later. So we can do that. But ultimately, this is the kind of album I would just throw on, pour the bourbon and just let it rock.
I'll give some specifics. I think it starts really well with The Fear That Binds You. Her Evil Sacreds are solid. But I think Confess to Nothing, Chemical Gods, Denial of Truth is a great 1, 2, 3 run right there.
Okay, so I think that almost all of these songs are great songs as well. My favorite run is 1 to 6, so The Fear That Binds You all the way through, Bleeding from Every Hole. And my top cuts would have to be that opener. The closer is really strong as well. I have to say, Her Evil is Sacred, Chemical Gods, which has this like doom vibe to it, Sabbath kind of feeling to it. And those are my top ones, and it's just really, really strong.
Very cool. So I guess it's time to grade this thing. I'm going to give this an A. I don't think that it's like one of the best albums of all time, but it's definitely one of the best albums I've heard this year. And I know that we're only in April at the time of recording this, but man, there's been a lot of really good stuff that has come out, and this so far is my favorite. But then again, this is the dope that they would fire directly into my veins. So, you know, I'm an easy mark.
So I'm kind of an opposite spectrum as you. I don't think a lot, like there's been nothing that's really stuck out this year to me as a great, great, great all-time album. Nothing I keep coming back to. And this is part of that. It's good, but I mean, it's nothing fantastic. I'm going to give this a B+.
No surprises here. I'm going to come in with an A.
I'm going to come in only slightly lower because of my inability to truly face sludge. And I'm you know what, I'm going to give this a 92. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kick it up a tiny bit because it's fun and it's cool. And I think if I listen to it more, I'd probably get more into it. But you know how I'm about tempo because I'm a tool. As you're going to see when we talk about my pick coming up, I'm like, what if Brazil produced more thrash? But anyway, more on that later. So I think this absolutely earns a 92, and I think it's going to grow on me the more I listen to it.
That gives us an average of a 93.
Hell yeah. A. That's an A.
Yep, it
Would
is.
you
Mark
would
it
you
A.
buy it?
I already have. So
Well, there's your answer. I think I would too. This is cool. This is cool shit. I'd buy this.
I think
So-
I would as
Yeah,
well.
I'd buy it.
So Ben would think I was cool. Like I'd have, look what I have. He's like, oh, I bought it 6 years ago.
I already think you're cool, David. It's all right.
See, you be like, I bought this, but people are like, I know you're a poser because you're still the rapper.
Amazing. Good shit.
All right.
Speaking of good shit, what's happening to us next, Tracy? What have we done to ourselves?
Happiest next to us is what have you done to us, David?
You're damn
As you
right.
picked claustrophobias.
Claustrophobia.
Unleashed.
I mean, what else did you expect me to do to you, Tracy? I'm like, wait, there's more. There's another Sepultura. So
Essentially, yeah.
yeah,
And
two
we'll
of
talk
them.
about that.
Don't you dare say that's a bad thing. Anyway, more on that real soon on Thunderdome Metal Reviews.